Hey everyone, I'm Peter from the Firebase team, and in this video I'm going to show you how to get started with Firebase AI Logic to bring powerful generative AI features into your iOS app. My team and I have been working on an app called Friendly Meals. It's a meal planning app that can suggest recipes based on the user's preferences. In this field here, users can provide a list of ingredients they'd like to use. I've got some chopped tomatoes, aubergines, courgettes, Parmesan cheese, garlic, and olive oil in my kitchen, so I'm going to type this in real quick. In the notes field, users can specify any preferences, for example, the type of cuisine or any dietary restrictions they might have. When I'm done recording this video, I think I might like some Italian food and I'd like to invite some friends over, so let's request 5 servings. Once I click on Suggest Recipe, the app will send a prompt with my request to Firebase AI Logic to create a delicious recipe based on my input. Melanzane e zucchini alla parmigiana. This sounds delicious. I can't wait to try this out once I wrap up here. In the meantime, you might be wondering, what exactly is Firebase AI Logic and how can I use it in my app? Well, Firebase AI Logic is a Firebase product that provides access to powerful generative AI models like Gemini and Imagine and their features. For example, using Firebase AI Logic, you can generate text or images, and you can analyze text, images, videos, audio, PDF files, and more. Firebase AI Logic provides client-side SDKs that make it simple to call these models directly from your mobile and web apps. It is also designed to keep your app secure, handling things like API key security for you when you use Firebase App Check. For a quick overview of Firebase AI Logic, which APIs it supports, and what you can use them for, watch this video right here. Now, before we can start writing code, there are a few setup steps we need to complete. First, we need to set up a Firebase project and connect our app to it. We've got a dedicated video that guides you through setting up Firebase and connecting it to your iOS app. You can find it in our Firebase Fundamentals playlist or in the documentation. I will also put a link in the description of this video. Now that we have our Firebase project ready and have registered an iOS app to it, we need to enable Firebase AI Logic for our project. To do so, navigate to the Firebase AI Logic page and click on Get Started. I'm going to use the Gemini Developer API for this video, which doesn't require upfront payment information. If you choose to use the Vertex AI Gemini API instead, you'll be asked to upgrade your billing plan to Blaze. But don't worry, we won't charge you for anything at this moment. You'll only pay when you start making calls to the API. Take a look at the documentation to understand pricing in more detail. Once the required APIs are enabled, the next step is to add the Firebase AI Logic library to your iOS app. Open your project in Xcode. If you followed the steps in the Getting Started with Firebase on Apple Platforms video, you already added the Firebase SDK to your project. You also added the Firebase configuration file to your project. The Firebase SDK includes the Firebase AI Logic library. To add it to your project, first select your project root node. Then select your project's main target. Scroll down to the Frameworks, Libraries, and Embedded Content section and click on the plus button. Select the Firebase AI library inside the Firebase package node and click on Add to add it to your target. You can now import Firebase AI into your code and start writing Swift code to interact with Gemini. First, we get an instance of Firebase AI. You can specify if you'd like to use the Gemini Developer API or the Vertex AI Gemini API by using the backend parameter. By default, Firebase AI will use the Gemini Developer API, so you only have to provide the backend parameter if you'd like to use the Vertex AI Gemini API. At the beginning of this video, I enabled the Gemini Developer API, so I can either explicitly specify this here or use the default value. Next, we can specify which model we want to use. For this sample app, I will be using Gemini 2.5 Flash, but you can choose the model that best fits your needs. To learn more about the supported models, take a look at the Firebase documentation, where we explain all the models available for various use cases, as well as their quotas and pricing. You can customize the generation by providing a generation config object, for example, to change the temperature or the maximum number of tokens you want the model to generate. You can use Xcode Quick Help feature to learn more about each of those parameters, or check out our documentation. We can now make calls to the model using the generate content function. Since this is a network call, the method is marked as async, which requires us to call it from an asynchronous context. This is why the generate recipe method is marked with the async keyword. It might also be a good idea to give the user a cue that their recipe is being generated. I'm using a progress spinner in the UI of this app, which I can show or hide using the isGenerating property. Next, let's put together a prompt for generating recipes. I'm using Swift's multi-line strings here to make the prompt easier to read. We include the user's ingredients in the prompt by using string interpolation. And in case the user provides any nodes, we add them as well. Once we've assembled the prompt, we can call model.generateContent and pass the prompt as an argument. Note how we're using the await keyword, as this is an asynchronous call. This means the current function is suspended while we're waiting for the call to the model to return. This helps to ensure your app's UI doesn't block the UI thread, making it appear unresponsive to the user. Once the call returns, we can retrieve the generated recipe from the response's text property and display it on the UI. And there you go. In just a few minutes, you were able to start building with AI with Firebase AI Logic. The code for this sample app is available on GitHub. You will find a link in the description. And if you're interested in adding more AI features to your app, like image generation, bidirectional streaming, and multi-turn chat, subscribe to this channel, as we'll be publishing more Firebase AI Logic tutorials for mobile and web apps soon. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.